As you can see, I bought a PS5 Pro. Now, if you're an existing subscriber and you saw my reaction video to the PS5 Pro's announcement, you're probably thinking, hold on a minute, why has this guy bought a PS5 Pro on day one? Let me explain. Now, before I get into it, if you're new here, hi, I'm Terrelle. Welcome to the channel. On this channel, I speak about video games, films, anime, etc. If you end up liking this video, hit the like button and the subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos, especially in relation to the PS5 Pro. And if you're an existing subscriber, thank you for coming back. Hello, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. Let's get into it. The PS5 Pro. Now, you can go back and watch the video. I'm not going to remove it. My reaction to the PS5 Pro when it was announced, I had quite a few concerns, as did many other people. And in that video, I think I probably did say I'm not planning to buy it on day one, and I probably won't. I have ended up buying it on day one. You're probably wondering why. Let me explain it. There's a few reasons why. Now, one of the key reasons is that first presentation, and I still stand by this, that first presentation with Mark Cerny announcing the PS5 Pro, I think was a very underwhelming way for them to announce this console. They didn't really show off what it could do. They spoke about it, but they didn't really show it off in a compelling way. They didn't have any new titles to show off with it. And they didn't really delve in. They didn't really do a deep dive on the tech to really show you what it's doing. I think what Digital Foundry ended up doing in the weeks after that announcement actually did a better job at promoting the console and showing what it's capable of than Sony did themselves in that initial video. And I can only assume because it's more of a niche product for a very specific type of consumer, Sony expected that that consumer would do their own research afterwards so they wouldn't have to project it out. Which is neither here nor there. But anyway, with Digital Foundry's initial analysis, it seemed a little bit promising. One game in particular constantly came up in that analysis, and that was Final Fantasy Rebirth. Now, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is one of my most anticipated, if not my most anticipated video game of 2024. And I have still not played it through to completion. And the reason is I put that game in on day one when it came out. And I bought the limited edition. I put it in day one, and I was extremely disappointed with the visual quality of that game in performance mode. Now, I'm the type of gamer that likes to play in performance mode. Ever since I got my PS5 and I, saw the light, if you will, and realized and noticed the difference between 60 frames and 30 frames, it's like my whole life changed from a gaming perspective, and I couldn't really go back. So from the moment I had my PS5 on launch day, which is almost 4 years to the exact date, I've always prioritized performance. I'm always that person. I'm always going to go to the performance setting. I'd rather sacrifice a little bit of visuals and maintain a 60 frames per second than sacrifice 60 frames per second, stick with 30 and have better visuals. That being said, what I noticed over the years with the PS5, which was quite disappointing with the base PS5, is that it was struggling to maintain a good visual fidelity with 60 frames per second. So you'd have a lot of games that I think Alan Wake 2 is an example where the game is outputting like 720p for its performance mode, which I think is abysmal. No game in 2024 on any system should be running at 720p resolution. I don't care if it's 30 frames or 60 frames. That's just unacceptable. And that kind of not hampered my experience with Alan Wake, but the visual, I can notice it. I play on a Sony OLED that I have. It's about 48 inches, 48-inch Sony OLED. I sit quite close to the TV when I play, so all these, I'm only a couple meters back from my TV screen, really. So all the details I can see. Now, if you have a bigger TV, and you're sitting way further back, like plus 10 feet back, you're not going to notice the difference. But for me, I notice all those small details. So when I booted up Final Fantasy Rebirth on launch day in performance mode, it looked so hazy and blurry that it was actually distracting. And it pulled me out of the experience. So like I said, it was a game I was highly anticipating, my most anticipated game of the year. And I thought, I can't play it like this. And that's the reason I think I bounced off that game, because I put in probably about 10 hours, I think, on that game. Got nowhere near like through it. Like I've probably done less than 10% of what that game has to offer in those 10 hours. But then I bounced off it because I'm like, I can't play it like this. And I tried bouncing between performance and with the fidelity mode, and I just couldn't play it in 30 frames. And then I didn't want to play it with that really blurry looking visual fidelity that is in the performance mode. And at that time, I just kind of stopped playing. I didn't really have it in my head, oh, the PS5 Pro might fix this. I just kind of stopped playing, moved on to other games. So when I then saw the analysis of this console and they were using Final Fantasy VII Rebirth as a reference, as showing how much it improved the experience, that was a big thing for me where I'm like, right, okay. My stance has always been, I think I said it in that previous video. I think I thought I was always going to end up with a PS5 Pro eventually because I am an enthusiast for gaming consoles, PlayStation especially. I do like to buy my upgraded consoles. I'm one of the consumers that would see the value in upgrading because I do look for that extra detail and clarity and those extra benefits. And because it was rearing its head, during this generation quite a bit, and I was already seeing a lot of compromises in the performance or the visual quality of some of these games. I was like, right, I actually feel like I need a PS5 Pro to get the satisfactory experience that I want. So as soon as I saw that proof in the pudding with Final Fantasy, I was like, okay, that right there solves my issue with Final Fantasy. And once they started to make it very clear that I think the game runs at a dynamic due to the PSSR upscaling 4K resolution with the 60 frames, and it completely eliminates that smoothed out, blurry look. I was like, right, that is one key factor for me there in buying this console now. Because I always said I'd probably end up with the PS5 Pro, especially by the time GTA 5 comes out. Sorry, GTA 6. Because I'd want whatever the best way. I'm not even certain that GTA 6 will come out in 60 frames and run 4K. I don't think that's probably going to happen. But whatever the best version of GTA 6 is playable on a PlayStation console, I want it. So I would have a PlayStation Pro by then. I knew that. But as soon as I saw that about Final Fantasy, I was like, oh, if I do buy one launch day, I have a use for it straight away. Which is Final Fantasy. And there are a number of other games since then that I've seen that have impressed me. And I've got the list here on my phone of all the PlayStation Pro enhanced games at launch. So all the games that should, as of right now, have an update um, for the PlayStation Pro and give the enhanced support and extra features. So I'm just going to quickly pull up that list now and just read out some of the games on this list. Because once I started to look at the list, I was like, actually, oh, because I do have quite a big backlog, I started to realize a lot of the games I just haven't got around to yet are games that are going to benefit from this. So actually, I do have a plethora of games from today, launch day, that I could take advantage of the PS5 Pro with and experience. So I wouldn't have to necessarily just wait for the newer titles to come like I initially thought. Games like Alan Wake 2, which is a game I really did enjoy, and I started playing that last year. Never got all the way through it, still need to beat it, and I want to play the DLC. That's going to receive some improvements through the PS5 Pro, so that's something for me. Assassin's Creed Mirage, although I don't think I'll probably end up getting to this game anytime soon, that's deep in my backlog. I started that when it came out. Was a little underwhelmed by it, didn't get back to it, but that's an example of a game that's going to get those features. Black Ops 6, which is a game that I'm loving at the moment, and I do plan to do a review of that game because I'm having a blast with it more than I thought I would. That's receiving pro enhancements. Dead Island 2 is a game that I really enjoyed that I played last year and beat, but it has recently just got a new game plus mode with some extra features, and there's DLC to that. And I've contemplated going back to that game anyway. And now I've seen that this has the enhancements with it. Demon Souls, game that I love, one of my favorite PS5 games. I genuinely don't think that game needs any upgrades, but it has it. And I'm curious just to, jump back in and see what those upgrades are like. Diablo 4 is a game I'll eventually get to because that's a game I know I want to play. Dragon's Dogma 2 is another one. So that's a game that came out at the start of this year. It's a game I was anticipating. I didn't buy it initially. I heard there was a lot of performance issues with it, and some visual issues with it. Didn't buy it initially. It went down pretty cheap during the summertime, I think it was. I bought a physical copy of that for quite cheap, knowing that I wasn't going to play it straight away because I was busy with other games, but it was there for the backlog. And now, conveniently, this game is now one of the games that's being boosted up and improved for the PS5 Pro. So now that when I eventually get around to playing it, I'll play a much better version of it than I would have if I played the game upon launch. Final Fantasy Rebirth, of course. The big one that really surprised me is F124. That one looks like a night and day difference between the PS5, the base PS5, and the PS5 Pro, and what that can handle and how it's bumped that game up to a native 4K at 60 frames with ray tracing, and it's running all smooth and it looks incredible. And it actually looks like a near generational leap between those two versions. And I haven't properly played through an F1 game for a good number of years. I mean, back in the PS3 generation, I played the F1 games a lot. I do love the sport of F1. I've been watching that since I was very young and following it. And I used to buy those games every year when Codemasters made them. I think from like, what was it, F1 2010? It might have been an F1 2009 as well, but F1 2010, 11, 12, 13, bought all of those, used to play online with friends, used to play those games a lot. I bought 2016, 2017, I think. And then I think I bought like F1. I think the last one I bought was F1 21 or F1 22. And then it switched over to EA. And I think I tried a trial of their last game. Um, but this new one, I think I'm going to get it. I'm going to use the EA Play trial, use the 5 hour trial while I can. And then I think I'm just going to buy the full game because I do love my F1 games. Haven't played one in a while. And this is a real incentive for me to dive into one because it looks so impressive on the PS5 Pro. Hogwarts Legacy, another game that I bought, didn't beat. It's got some enhanced features, so by the time I get around to that game, could take advantage. Another game that falls into that category is Forbidden West. These are all games that I already own. So as you can already see, it's painting a picture of I have a lot of games in my backlog, which I'm eventually going to get to, that are all taking advantage of this PS5 Pro day one. So there is actually a lot for me to take advantage of with this console, which has led to the reason why I decided to bite the bullet and buy one now. Lies of P is another game that I've played, some of, haven't beat yet, want to get back to because I was loving that. This is now apparently running at 4K native 60 frames a second, which is incredible because the game already looked incredible in 60 frames and it ran relatively smooth from what I remember. Didn't really have any issues in that regard. But the fact that I can play in that fidelity mode with the 60 frames basically in native 4K, very impressive. Looking forward to get back to that game. Lords of the Fallen is a game I haven't got yet, but it's a game I want to get to. I will test some of the Spider-Man games. I have no interest in replaying them, but I'll test it just to see the ray tracing on those. NBA 2K25, if I do end up getting that this year, that's boosted. The same with EA Sports FC. You've then got the Resident Evil game. So Resident Evil Remake, Resident Evil 4 Remake. I haven't beat that yet either. You can see there's I get distracted with games, so my backlog, there's a lot of games I start, and then sometimes it'll take me a while to settle on a game to beat it. But in this case, I'm glad all of these games I kind of left because now I can get a fresh experience with all of them in the best way possible. So Resident Evil 4 Remake, that's another one that I need to get back to, and that's got enhancements. Resident Evil Village has got enhancements. That's a game that I may eventually just go back and replay. It's been on my mind anyway. You've got Rise of the Ronin and Stellar Blade, which are two games I've skipped this year, and I didn't really have any intention on playing either of them. Mainly because I was a bit burnt out on the Souls like formula, so that kind of put me off of Stellar Blade, even though it looked like a kind of cool game. But now that these games have received those enhancements, if I do eventually down the line get to them, I know that I've got like a much better version of those to play. Star Wars Outlaws, I probably won't play anytime soon. And then I had no intention of playing The Last of Us remake or ever buying it, but it's available on PlayStation Plus on the higher tier at the moment. So that's, whilst is a part of my subscription fee, I can play that and use that as a reason to test the console as well and the graphical fidelity of the PS5 Pro because that will run at 4K in 60 frames. Now, the one caveat, of course, day one, because I was and I pre-ordered this console on the day that the pre-orders went live, but I was unsure if I was going to keep my pre-order, but I just wanted to pre-order it in case it sells out, but it didn't. But because I was unsure, I didn't purchase a disk drive back then either. What's happened since in the UK is the disk drives have completely sold out. They've been sold out for over a month. You still can't get them now, which is a pain in the ass because a lot of my games are physical. So, whilst I've just said all of that, I may have to wait a few more weeks before I can play most of those games, Final Fantasy included, which is the main one I want to play, because most of my games are physical and I don't have the disc drive yet. And I refuse to pay double the price, like £200, which is the price scalpers are selling them for on eBay right now. So Sony need to get their act together and get the stock in place because it's quite ridiculous that they've released this console without a fresh batch of stock of the disc drive. But once I do get that disc drive, I'll be able to dive into more. A new game that's out this week as well that I want to try is called Slitterhead, and that's got PS5 Pro enhancements. Has enhancements. I'll be reviewing that game, and I'm curious about this new game called Empire of Ants as well, which is an example of the power of the PS5 Pro over the base model, because the base model I believe is running 30 frames a second, like 1440p, whereas and it doesn't have a 60 frames option, whereas the PS5 Pro version has 4K 60 frames. So there's a lot of games for me to dive into with this this console that I'm excited to try. Like I said, a lot of them I'll have to wait a couple weeks until I can get that disc drive. But there's a number of games I can trial right now. Like I said, The Last of Us through PlayStation Plus, The Last of Us Part 2, Alan Wake. I'm gonna buy Slitterhead this week, Empire of Ants, and there's a number of other games, a few other ones that I've got digitally which I can play on. And like I said, so in that original video, my main concern was the disk drive. And I still think it's a bit poor that they didn't release it with a disk drive. But my one of the things I thought about in the time since is the fact that actually, when you look at it, for the launch PS5, the base model, you did pay a premium for the disk drive because there was a cheaper version without it. So although it seems ridiculous that this is priced at £700 and you have to pay an extra 100 for a disk drive, I still had to pay a premium fee for the disk drive the first time round. It just doesn't seem like that because the version I bought came with the disk drive in the box. But at the end of the day, I could have spent less and got one without a disk drive. So either way, the principle of that is the same, is that I paid extra for a disk drive for the original console. And like I said, what came around in my head constantly again is just the fact that I'm going to end up with one of these anyway. I know I am. And it's going to be before GTA. But then when I saw all the features running and some evidence of what it could do, and I realized the amount of games that were available that I have now that I could take advantage of it, then that's when I started to weigh up and thought, you know what, it ain't gonna be no harm if I buy it now. So I've ended up with it now. But what I intend to do is bring a lot of coverage to the channel. So if you have any questions about the PS5 Pro and certain games and how they run and the performance and the overall feedback of that, put those comments in the comment section below and I'll address those in future videos because I think I'll give you some updates and some reviews on this console as I go along with it, just to let you know and give you my direct experience with it so I can give you a review of how I'm getting on with the console and a review of some of the games that I'm playing and the performance of those as well. And I'll keep up with that as we go along. But that's that's the video. That's what I want to talk about. I just want to let you know that I've got one. I wanted to tell you why I've got one, despite what I said before, and why I'm actually quite excited to get into it and to see what it's really like. And then I want to let you know that I am going to give you coverage of that. So like I said, if you enjoyed this video, thanks for watching this far. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. And let me know what you want to see. If there's a specific type of game you want me to play on the PS5 Pro and give my thoughts on, because I can do like a video of like a little roundup of performance on certain games. I don't mind doing that. And I am actually thinking of buying a capture card again. I haven't had one of those for a long, long time. Like back in my original days on my original channel, Teammate TV, back in like 2010, I had like an Elgato capture card that I bought back then. I haven't had one since, but I feel like I might buy a Elgato capture card so I can do some streaming and so I can just get some gameplay that I can record for my content as well for you guys. So I'm thinking of doing that. If you'd want to see me do that, let me know that in the comment section as well. But yeah, I think I've just said everything I wanted to say. This went on for a lot longer than I thought it would. I've probably actually missed out something I wanted to say. I guarantee when I stop recording this, I'm gonna be like, I wanted to say that. But anyway, thanks for watching. Comment below, hit the like button, subscribe. Speak to you guys.